Hello, everyone. This is Faye, and I sell Medicare plans. This is the podcast where everyone who is an insurance professional, who is in the Medicare space, who walks around in these Medicare streets, who wants to be in these Medicare streets, this is where you come to learn what everybody else is doing and what you should be doing. So this morning, I have a marvelous guest. She has done Medicare and has gone on to do something else, but I think that her story is so interesting. I wanted to really let everyone know, first of all, how I met this young lady. That's quite a coincidence. And then let you hear from her and the adventures she's had in the Medicare streets. Good morning, Katrice.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I am just great. Every day is a great day.
Amen. Amen.
So when I talk about how we met, it was really strange, and yet and still we're very close in proximity and where we are living.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are listening, first of all, let me tell you, Katrice actually lives in my hometown, which is only about 20 minutes away from where I live now. I am still in Central Florida, as everyone knows. And it was just so unusual to find someone who's in the same business that you're in, who does the same thing that you do, and you're just minutes away. Generally,
Hmm.
you don't do that.
Right.
So, who was it that we owe our introduction to?
When it was Miss what's her name? Terry? Miss
Terry
Terry.
Alford. That's right,
Yeah.
Terry Alford. Terry is someone that I have not personally met, but met her through social media, through several of the groups. She has been a guest on this podcast. You all can see Terry's episode when you look at the episodes on the podcast. Terry has been on, and she talks about building financial independence. She's also been a guest for me on Club Win, which is Women in Insurance Niches. Well, Patrice asked on Facebook, I think was it Facebook?
Facebook. Yeah.
Uh, if anyone knew someone who was doing health insurance that she might use as an affiliate or a referral partner. At that point, we didn't know where each other might be. But
Mm-mm.
Terry, in her brilliance, answered and said, Faye Horton. When I saw that Katrice had booked on my calendar an appointment and the number was the prefix of the area code was my area code, I'm thinking, well, she must be right here. Then on top of that, to show everyone what a small world this is, when we did connect, Katrice, I said to you, I bet you there is someone, because our town is not that big, even though it's
Mm-mm.
grown. I bet there's someone that we both know. And who was that?
Well, your nieces and my friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like we've been friends since like 9, 10 years old. And
See?
like I was like, that is such a small world.
It is such a small world. And because when I looked for Catrice on Facebook, I saw that we had some mutual friends. So, and the first one I saw was actually my sister. And so I texted her and she said, no, I don't think so. It took her a minute to think about it, because growing up, they all knew you by your first name, I guess, right?
Yes, they knew me by
Okay.
Kenyatta.
Yes. So she texts me back and she goes, "Oh yeah. That's friend and Ashley's friend." And then you're also friends with my other niece,
Oh,
uh,
Natalie.
Nurse Natalie.
Yeah.
Yes. So it is a very small world. Well, now that everybody knows how we met and how coincidental that is. Let's get into telling our audience something about your Medicare business. So, when did you start actually with the Medicare business, Katrice?
Well, I started in 2018 professionally, but I've been in working with Medicare like um, on the consumer side since about 2012.
Okay.
I got
Okay.
into it. My mom died in, well, actually 2009, because my mom died in 2009. And my
Mhm.
little brother, he's mentally handicapped, and I'm his guardian. And so he had Medicare. And so I had to quickly learn how Medicare and Medicaid work because he's a
Mhm.
dual. And then my dad in 2012, he hit 65. And so I had to figure that out, with him,
Mhm.
getting him enrolled. And so when I started working in 2018, I started working at a call center. And this call center, first the lady was like, "You're overqualified to work here." And I was like, "Look, ma'am, I just need a job. Just give me a job. I ain't worried about all that because I got 3 kids I got to take care of." And so I started working there, and the department that I was in, they were actually closing, but they had an
Uh-huh.
insurance department, and they were allowing us to test to see if we could pass the pre-test, and then they would
Mhm.
put us in the training to become a licensed health agent.
Okay.
And so it kind of just like fell in my lap. And so then when I found out it was Medicare, I was like, oh man, this is great because I already have some knowledge of it from
Mhm.
working, with it on the
With
consumer side. So
mhm.
now I can actually learn how it really works.
Mhm.
It kind
Mhm.
of really just, and I really don't think that it just fell in my lap. I think everything is, divinely, orchestrated.
Obviously, yes.
And so and I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed, the testing and the learning and like helping everybody else. Cause when we did it, like our whole department, it was kind of like a little family. Like we all like made sure everybody, studied and understood. Like we was determined that we was all gonna pass. Cause it was kind of
Yes.
like the department we was in, it was a little ghetto. The little ghetto department, and nobody thought that, we would be able to pass.
Mhm.
But we showed them. Yeah, we showed them.
So
We
not
worked
only
with
did you pass the test, you got licensed, and then working for that call center, you were successful because obviously they didn't let you go. You
right.
made the decision that there's something else that you could do with that license, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I was the number one because I worked the night shift, and so I
Mhm.
was the number one sales agent. My very first AEP out, number one sales agent for them, which came as a shock to me because I wasn't like keeping any records or anything. I was just working. And so when AEP was over, they was like, did you see the board? Did you see the board? And I was like, no, I didn't see the board. And they're like, you're like the number one sales agent for the night shift. And I was like, oh, okay. Like
Surprise,
awesome.
surprise, surprise.
Surprise. I was like, wow. So, and I won to like cruise. I think it was like a 2-3 day cruise that I won. So I was really like super geeked about that.
Oh, that is great. So what actually made you decide that from there you were top star, you were doing well, you were able to work the hours that you wanted to work? What made you really decide that you should go independent?
It was a couple of reasons. I kind of got frustrated with management, but the main reason was I felt like I could help more people as an independent agent than I could sitting on the phone
Oh, okay.
because
Okay.
it was only inbound. We didn't make any outbound calls, but it was like we only offered the one plan, the one company. I work for one
Mm-hmm.
company. So it was like I could only market those plans. And if
Right.
the person on the other line, if the plan didn't fit, they kind of
Mm-hmm.
wanted us to make it fit. And I'm not going to do that. That's just not something that I do, because I think about what happens when, um, sometimes when you check those provider registries,
Mhm.
it has doctors on there that aren't actually, you know, uh, contracted with the company.
Right.
And so, if I do my due diligence and it says that it is, and then when they get to the doctor and the doctor is like, no, we don't take that plan. If they don't have a special election period, they are stuck in that plan till AEP. And so
Mhm.
I have a real issue with that. And so I was like, I could help more people if I go out on my own, because then I could contract with other carriers and I would have more
Okay.
options to be able
Okay.
to offer. And a lot of the people that called in were African American. They had no guidance. And it's like after they got off the phone with me, if they had a question, they couldn't reach back out to me.
Right. Right.
So it was
Right.
like they're lost and they don't know who
Mhm.
to contact. And then they're just calling around, talking to people, getting all these different, answers, being confused. And I didn't
Okay.
like that. So I was
Okay.
like, I could just do better outside.
Yes, because then if you have your own business, they're going to reach back to you because you're going to make sure they have your number. They know how
Right.
to reach you. That's something that's really, really important. It is an important difference between the captive agent and the independent agent. Yes, independent, you're going to have your pros and your cons,
Right.
because now the calls that were coming in as an independent, now you got to find those calls and those leads. However, ethically, it meant more to you knowing what you knew from your family experiences to really be able to help someone the best that you could.
Right.
I could agree with that because the if you're only I've been captive for most of my career, and being independent, it does give me more choices for the people that I meet, and it just requires that we do that real due diligence to know those differences in those plans and how they work. So did you
Right.
find that that was something that you could handle well, or did it seem overwhelming at first? How did it feel now being able to offer 5 or 6 plans instead of one?
For me, it wasn't. I mean, I'm a very analytical person. So, I had my plans and I had, because I kind of rank the plans just depending upon, what they offer, the benefits and everything that they offer. Also, the provider network for me is really strong. And so when I have somebody who is dead set on keeping their provider,
Doctors.
I go to the plan to where I that's the first plan I will present, is the plan that has the broadest network of doctors, because most likely their doctor will be in network. And then if that plan doesn't work out for them, then I go to the next. So I kind of had it, you know, linked like
Good. That's
that.
a good way of doing it. Yes. Now, eventually, though, you also added to your portfolio as an independent agent, you added health insurance.
Yes.
Was that a big decision, or was it something that just kind of fell in your laps as well? How did that process work?
Well, when I left the my job and I went independent, I had contracted with Health Markets at first. And so with Health Markets, they offer Medicare, life, dental, and ACA. And so what I did was I learned ACA, and ACA really isn't as hard as some people think it is. To me personally, it's actually a little easier than Medicare because you don't have to have the special election periods. Well, you do, but you don't
You
have to have
do.
not the special election period, but the scope of appointment.
Right. The scope
You
of
don't have to have a
appointment.
scope, and so
Well,
it's
I think
easier to
that's
talk.
changing. You're going to need some proof that the person told you to act on their behalf coming up this year.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
So they're putting in a some little differences there. However, ACA does not have the compliance limitations in terms of
Mhm.
marketing
Right.
that Medicare does. So
Right.
some people find that adding ACA actually fills a void in their business during those times, like lock-in for Medicare. But then there are other people who don't do anything but Medicare. And during lock-in, they just, instead of changing products, they change target audiences.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, you have to really work
Find your
how
niche.
yeah, you got to find your niche and what you like to do. Now, you mentioned earlier that some of the people that you were helping that you really felt empathy for were African Americans. What is the name of your company?
Yeah, so Insure Black America is my initiative, and it is to close the coverage gap in insurance for African Americans. Because a lot of times we will go to the doctor, we'll get sick, and we'll go to the emergency room and we'll get acute care, but then we don't get any follow up care because we don't have any insurance. And so we can't afford to go to the doctor. And so my whole thing, and that's just was that came off of family and personal experience, having family members who were constantly going to the ER and getting acute care, and then in a couple of months going right back to the ER for the exact same thing because they're not getting the follow-up care. And so my whole thing was, if they can get insurance and I can introduce them to, insurance and explain to them how it works, they'll stop that repeating cycle,
Right,
you know.
right,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah,
So
that was
your initiative will actually help to build a healthier community,
yes,
because it is absolutely true that we all need some follow-up care. We think that's one of the things that I find in my family. Often people will say, I haven't been to the doctor in I don't know when. And it's
mm-hmm.
like they're saying it like they're proud of that. But
Yeah,
that's not anything to be proud of. That's nothing to boast about. You
right,
really do need to have yourself checked at least once a year. There are so many people who don't go to the doctor because they don't have insurance. And then when they do go, there's some major
right.
diagnosis that now they have to deal with.
Yeah,
So
that's what happened
that's
with my mom. And but the thing with her was she had insurance, and that's another component of Insure Black America, because it was also, if you have insurance, you need to use it, because she had insurance and she just didn't like to go to the doctor. So when she finally had to go to the doctor, then we found out she had liver cancer, and
uh
it advanced. So it had got to the point to where they tried treatment, but it was kind of a little too far.
mhm,
So
mhm.
the treatment wasn't really working, and so she ended up passing. And so that too, it was another component of me starting Insure Black America, because it was like, if you have the insurance, utilize it. Like, don't just have it just to say you have it, because it's not benefiting you if you're not utilizing.
Right,
You know.
absolutely. Use the insurance, and then now I tell my customers and my family and myself, Google is your friend. So when you go into that doctor and the doctor tells you this and that and over there and over here, and you don't understand it, Google it.
Google. Yep.
When you are given a prescription, Google it. See what the side effects are. Then go back and talk to the medical professional. There's no one that's going to replace the training that the medical professional has. However, here in Florida, particularly, there's such a shortage of providers.
Yeah.
Providers' offices are so crowded. People
Mm-hmm.
may not get all of the attention or get all of their questions answered when they go in. So you need to have a list when you go in, get your questions answered. You still don't understand, Google it.
Yep.
And now it comes back to people like you and I, because we're those people who can search those insurance plans that's going to be able to help that individual find a good provider, be with a network of doctors that's going to really care about giving them the quality of care that they
Mm-hmm.
deserve. So, as insurance brokers and as insurance professionals, we're important. We play an important role in helping the community to be healthier.
Yes.
Now you have completely transitioned to one other thing that you're doing in your life. You're still doing insurance, you're still licensed, you're still an insurance professional, you still have your initiative of Insure Black America. And then there's one other thing that you're doing right now. You want to tell us about that?
Well, yes, I kind of transitioned into I'm big into astrology. And I'm an energy reader. I'm intuitive, and so I use the natal chart, which is a snapshot of the sky at your time, place, and date of birth, and it shows the energies that are inside of you. And so I use that tool to help divorced women rebuild their lives, because as you know, when you get divorced, every your life is over as you knew it, as you knew it then, your life is over. And so now you have to transition into life, post divorce as a single person. And so I use the natal chart to show women how to rebuild their lives based on the energies that they were born with. And it's really cool. I love it. I
You
really love
it's you are a person. I'm so happy that I met you, because everything that you actually put yourself into, you put your whole self into it. I can see that
it. I
in
do.
the enthusiasm that you have about what you do. I can see that in the energy that you display about the things that you do. We're so blessed to have you in our community, and having you, Katrice, with your Insure Black America. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching, you will learn from how Katrice's journey in Medicare and helping others came about. But if anyone wants to reach out to her, we will have her contact information available to you in the announcements. This is a podcast and a YouTube video, so you can see it there or you can listen to the podcast. Thank you so very much, Katrice, for being my guest today. And will you come back again?
Yes, I definitely will. Oh my gosh, I was so excited when you asked me to come on, because I wanted to let people know. Oh, one other thing I want to, before we end,
Okay.
um, if you one thing that I want to tell all new agents, or that's watching this, is that you want to not only listen to your upline, but also listen to yourself, because your upline can give you guidance on, strategies and tips and how the industry works. But if you get an impulse to do something different and creative in your business, because you have to remember, this is your business and this
That's
is
true.
your legacy. And so if you get an impulse to do something, try it out. The worst thing that's going to happen is that it's not going to work. It won't yield you the result that you want. And so then you can always go back to the drawing board. But you always want to trust any impulse that you get, because that could be the impulse that could take you, where it is that you're really trying to go in your business. And if you have a good upline, your upline will see your persistence and they will give you, oh, you're doing that. Okay, well, I know somebody who do this, who do that as well. Let me link you with them so that they can, you know what I'm saying, show you what they do so you can get ideas from them. And so you always want to follow that impulse. talk with your upline. Let your upline know what you're doing, because they are instrumental in helping you to build your business, because nobody
Oh,
comes in knowing anything. And it's on the job training for real,
on
for
the
real.
job training for real.
So,
Thank you so much. That I'm so happy that you gave that tip. That is so critically important. Thank you so very, very much. And I do appreciate knowing you, meeting you, and we're going to meet in person
yes,
eventually.
yes, we are.
Since we're
Yes, we
so close together. But thank you so much for being on I Sell Medicare Plans this morning. Thank
Oh,
you.
you are very welcome. Thank you for having me.